We'll wait for 2 more minutes. Professor Archana, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Will we start?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Indu, Dr. Indu?
You can start.
Madam is there. Indu.
So we can start, I think, sir.
Okay. Madam is not there, no? Anuradha madam.
Ah,
Anuradha madam is not there.
she is not. It's okay. She said, you please carry on. She said in the morning.
Okay. Okay. You can speak well if your tongue can deliver the message of your heart. Let thy speech be better than silence, or be silent. Good morning, friends. I welcome you all for the second day of the 3-day workshop on the essence of effective communication. To enlighten all of you, today we have with us Professor Archana from St. D. Sales College, Bangalore. Before I hand over to Professor Archana, I'll just brief her profile. Ms. Archana R. is working as assistant professor in the Department of English at St. Francis D. Sales College, Electronicity, Bangalore. She has put up with 15 years of teaching experience. Currently, she is working as IQAC coordinator in St. D. Sales First Grade College. She has attended various conferences and seminars. She has presented a paper and published paper in a very reputed journals in the national and international level. She has also organized many programs as a part of IQAC initiative, and she worked as a textbook committee member of Bangalore University. She is also a part of science textbook committee of Bangalore University for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th semester, which are upcoming texts. So she is pursuing PhD in the University of Mysore presently. So with this brief introduction, I request, before I hand over to Archana, I welcome you all for the 2nd day session. So some of my friends have joined, Dr. Shankar Murthy sir, Professor Chaitana, who is going to be the speaker for the evening session, and Dr. Indu from our college. I extend a very, very warm welcome to all of you. So on behalf of Padma Shri Institute of Management Sciences, in absentia organizing committee, I welcome our dearest principal, Dr. Anuradha Madam. So welcome, Archana, over to you. you please carry on with your session. Thank you.
Dr. Tamaya, thank you so much for that introduction. A very good morning to all of you. Respected Principal of Padma Shri Institute, Dr. Anuradha, respected Vice Principal and Head of the Department of English, Dr. Tamaya, all the faculty members of Padma Shri Institute, and all the other faculty members from various colleges, and all dear students who have joined the session this morning, this Sunday morning. I welcome you all and thank you for joining me in this session. To start off with, I thought let me talk to you about business speeches, importance of business speeches and making presentations. So while I was working with this textbook, on this textbook of the textbook titled Communication for Corporate Jobs, I always had one thought in my mind. Are we only going to talk about corporate jobs here? Are all the 100% students whom we have in our university going to get into corporate jobs only? Are they going to be working for some MNC throughout their life? So then came this thought that this should not be restricted, or this text should not be restricted only to corporate jobs, only for people who are going to take up corporate jobs. But there are many other people among you, many of you students, who are going to be entrepreneurs in your future. That is the reason I prefer calling all you students not as students, but as young professionals. You all are going to be very soon stepping into a professional life, which is going to be very challenging, which is going to take you through a lot of ups and downs in your life, where you have to be prepared. And this NEP course, the new NEP policy, is a very good platform for all you students to prepare yourself, to equip yourself with lot of skills. That's the reason now we call it as skill enhancement or ability enhancement courses, and no more it is called as English course. It is called as ability enhancement course. Therefore, the whole primary purpose of educating our children, asking them to develop their skills, enhance their skills, hone their skills in various capacities is what is the great responsibility of teachers today. So this text, which is given to you, which is presented to you by the Bangalore University on communication for corporate jobs, is a very good handbook to all of you to learn various aspects about how you have to improve your skills when it comes to jobs. I was telling you, I am not just referring to corporate jobs here, because that is not the only job that many of you would take up. There are many other things that people would wish to do. Like I was saying, you might become an entrepreneur. That is also a part of corporate job. That is also a business. And you might not have a huge establishment. You might not have you might not have a huge building somewhere in the Whitefield or in the Electronic City, have a huge building with lots of employees. No, it is not necessary that you do that. But any profession that you enter, any job that you take up, even if you are an entrepreneur, you definitely need good communication skills. How many of you, let me ask you a simple question. Let me start this session by a simple question. How many of you have already thought about what you're going to be soon? What are you going to do after your um, 3-year course or 4-year course, after your graduation? What are you going to do? Just give me your reply in the chat box. I'm interested to know what you people have decided about your future. I'm anticipating a lot of answers from all the students here, so that I know what you people are actually thinking about your future. Responses from all of you? Yes, I want to create a brand of my own. That's the best thing to do. I always believe that being self-employed is the best thing to do. It's a very good idea.
Hello.
Creating a brand of your own is not a simple thing. What a vision this girl Grishma has already for herself. So she wants to create a brand of her own. Anybody else who wants to say what you want to do in your future? What you want to become? More responses from the students? Students have better ideas than all of us. They know what they have to do. They have a clear idea about what they have to become. When I asked a similar question in my classroom, when I started teaching communication to my students, one boy got up and told me, "Ma'am, I don't want to do anything. My father has a business and I want to just take care of that business." I said, "Very good. That's a very good thing to do. You have to carry on with the heritage that the legacy that your father has left for you. That's a very good thing to do." But even there, even to carry on with the legacy that has been bestowed by your parents, you need good communication skills. That's a very important aspect that is required for the present generation. But we often neglect, in the rush of gaining marks, writing exams, what we often neglect is enhancing our communication skills. Shilpa says she wants to be a teacher. Yes, you just don't have to be a teacher. You have to be a very good teacher, an excellent teacher. So if you want to be an excellent teacher, what is it that you require? You require good communication. You need to develop a good rapport with your students, and you need to learn many skills that you have to teach to your students. So excellent. All of you have a vision, and that vision will take you forward in your life, and many of you are going to soon going to become professionals. So here I start my presentation. I will share my screen with you, and is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to discuss with you about business speeches and presentations today. This is my topic. This is the area of focus of today's presentation. So as I told you, when I was thinking about this, are we going to restrict this just for business speeches or presentations? Are we going to expand our horizons a little more and discuss more in general about what other things students can explore in this topic? So what is a business speech basically? A business speech is a speech that is delivered for some kind of business purpose. Okay, it need not necessarily be for a corporate job, even a small speech. I was thinking about this thing, and I was thinking how even a person who comes door to door selling something, every day we witness many people coming to our doorsteps to sell a product. Or it could be the push cart person who sells vegetables every day, and how they market their product. That is a business speech. A business speech need not be necessarily something that is only related to corporate world. It can be anything, any kind of a speech, any kind of a talk that is given to promote your idea, to promote your product for the purpose of marketing, for the purpose of sales. It could be any kind of speech that is delivered for the purpose of business. So there are different types of business speech. Basically, there are three types of business speech. The first one is informative speeches. The second one is persuasive speeches. And the third one is occasional speeches. Informative speeches are those kind of speeches which gives you information about business, about a product, about anything that is related to business. a set of people sitting and discussing about a product, that is an informative speech. A person stands there and tells a set of people, a group of people about a product, that is an informative speech. Persuasive speech is something that is familiar to all of us. As I was telling you, every day we hear about people, we see people coming door to door selling various things, how they persuade their customers, how they persuade the prospective buyers. This is called the speech that is made for the purpose of persuading someone to either buy a product or get into a business venture, be a part of a business venture, or establish any kind of business with someone. That is called as a persuasive speech. Occasional speech, the third type of business speech, is called as occasional speech. In business, there are many occasions, there are many occasions which come up where you have to give a speech, where you have to deliver a speech. These occasions are not everyday occasions. These come up once in a while. Once in a while, like you're starting a new business, you're launching a new product, you're launching a new business venture, or you have some good news to share that you are starting a new branch of business, you're starting a new product, something like this. All these things, which happens very occasionally, comes under occasional speeches, occasional business speeches. So these are the three main: informative, persuasive, and occasional speeches are the three main types of business speech. Business speech can be broadly classified into these three categories. One is informative, persuasive, and occasional speeches. So moving ahead in the presentation, there are different types of informative speeches. What are the different types of informative speeches? Speaking about objects, like speaking about a product, speaking about an event that is going to happen, or an event that has already happened, any historical event that has happened which is relevant to your business, or any occasion, current occasion that is happening at the present. Speaking about events is a reference to any event that has either happened in the past, which has relevance today to your business, or the present event that is happening, which has so much of relevance to your business. And speaking about a concept, that's a very important thing. Speaking about a concept, an idea is very crucial to any kind of business. So lot of business is done based on concepts. So when you have to present to the people about the idea that you have that is when you're making a speech about a concept. Then speaking about process is also very important in business. You're talking about the process of doing something, the process about running your organization itself, running your business itself, or preparing for something that is going to happen in your business. So all this is about, your teacher would have briefed you about the process or the procedure that you're going to follow for an upcoming event in your college. That is called as speech about process. So likewise in business also, for any kind of process, any kind of event that has to happen, you need to discuss. Somebody has to make a speech. Somebody has to inform people about the process that you are going to follow in order to do something, in order to accomplish some kind of a task. So moving ahead, you have what we learned so far is about informative speeches. Now we are looking into persuasive speeches. What are persuasive speeches? Persuasive speeches, the word persuade itself means to convince someone, to persuade, to convince someone to do something, to convince someone to change their opinion about something, to convince someone to change their viewpoint about something, to make an influence on the audience. And this is what happens to all of us when we go on shopping. Many times when we go on shopping, We think that we are not going to buy something, we are not going to buy anything because we have bought a lot of things in the past. We have so many things. Can someone mute yourself, please?
Hi.
I request all the participants to mute.
Muted, ma'am.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah. So persuasive speech is where we always try to influence the other person. And I was telling you about shopping. When we go shopping, we always think that we have bought so many things and we should not buy anything more. But what happens when we go there? The salespersons are so equipped with their speech of convincing us, we somehow get convinced. A good salesperson is the one who persuades someone into buying something, okay? Who influences, who creates that influence in the mind of the people, mind of the customer to buy a product. You know, the influence is so much, the influence is so effective that we end up buying a product, okay? So there are three types of persuasive speech. One is factual persuasive speech. The second is value persuasive speech. And the third one is policy persuasive speech. What is factual persuasive speech? Factual persuasive speech is based on facts, okay? Based on facts. See, we often don't believe what people say. If you say that Shah Rukh Khan bought this product and using this product, how do we believe? We need some data, we need some proof. So whenever facts are provided to convince someone, that becomes a factual speech, a factual persuasive speech. We are not, we as customers are not fools to enter into anything without thinking. So therefore, a businessman has to be very careful and know his facts and present his facts very well to his customers in order to get convinced to buy any product. So that becomes a factual persuasive speech where the person, the businessman or the business person is going to provide us with lot of data, lot of facts, lot of figures, concrete proof in order to make an influence on the customer to buy a product or to get into any service that is offered by a person, by a businessman. What is value persuasive speech? Value persuasive speech is all depending on the value that something has. Everything has a value, okay? Every product has a value, every service has a value, everything has a value. So based on the value of the product, based on the value of the service, the person, the salesperson or the business person tries to convince the customer that this has a lot of value. Therefore, you are going to do this. You are going to be, it is all about values. It is all about moral, being right, being immoral, being wrong. Okay, it all depends on that. If you think that being this or doing this carries a lot of value, then you're going to go for it. So it all depends on the business person, how he or she is going to convince his customer that this thing has a lot of value. Buying this product or getting into this service has a lot of value. Okay. So the next thing is policy persuasive speech. Policy persuasive speeches are where new policies are introduced. In many organizations, new policies are introduced every now and then. There is revising of policies that happens. It could be an internal policy, it could be an external policy, it could be a foreign policy. Any kind of policy that happens or that is revised in the companies, it has to be conveyed to the people who are there in the organization. So many people, when we know this very well, it happens in politics also. Whenever the government comes up with a rule, there are many people who are for the rule, who are against the rule. Just like how when NEP was introduced, many people said NEP is very good. It helps the students. It helps the teachers. So many people were of the opinion that NEP is not good. NEP doesn't help students. It is a burden for the teachers. So there were contrasting ideas many times that was given, that came up from all corners of the country. So whenever any policy is introduced, either in the country or in the world or in an organization, in business, let's say, there are contrasting opinions that come up. Some say it is good, some say it is not good. So what is the responsibility of the owner of the business, or let's say the head of the business? Like how principal is the head of the institution, the role of the principal is to convince people to do something, to persuade people to do something. So likewise, in an establishment, in a business establishment, the role of the head, the role of the owner of the company is to convince the people, convince the employees to accept this policy and make the employees understand why this policy is good. That is called as policy persuasive speech. Make them understand that this policy that has been brought up, that this policy that has been newly introduced to you is for the welfare of the employees. So this is called as policy persuasive speech. Now we go on to what is called as special occasional speeches. We learned about informative speeches, we learned about persuasive speeches. Now we are going to focus on what is called as special occasion speeches. Okay. In an organization, in our everyday life, we are expected to give many speeches. Okay. Speaking, I know, is a very difficult task. It's a very difficult task because you need a lot of preparation to speak. You cannot just speak whatever you want. You need a little bit of preparation to speak. So different occasions, different ceremonies call for different kinds of speeches. So here in this slide, I have focused on what are the different occasions where you need to present speeches. Okay, when you are introducing someone, just imagine you're working in an organization and you have a new person who has come to your team, who has joined your team, and you are the manager of the team. Okay, you're the manager of the team, and you have to introduce this new team member to the others, to the rest of the team. What are you going to do? How are you going to introduce all this, introduce to all these people about the new person who has come to the organization, who has come to your team? So you are going to make a speech, or you are going to present a speech where you will be introducing her or him to the rest of the people. How would you introduce him or her to the rest of the people? By giving few facts. Where this person has come from, where was he working earlier, where was she working earlier, what is the qualification of the person? Just like how Dr. Tamaya gave an introduction about me a few minutes back. Likewise, you're going to introduce your team to the person who has newly joined the team. This could be a short speech in just a few minutes, talking basically about the very elementary things, the very basic things about the person. You need not have to get into a lot of details about the person, but talking about the elementary things about the person would suffice, would be more than enough. So this is about speech of introduction. What is a speech of presentation? A presentation speech is where you are presenting something, or you are awarding something to a person, and that is when you make a speech. You are introducing, or you are talking something about this award that you're giving to somebody. So that is called as a presentation speech. And you might have a team member who has been recently promoted, or who has been recently awarded something. That kind of a presentation, or that kind of a speech, is called as a presentation speech. The third one is speech of acceptance, speech of accepting a presentation, speech of accepting an award. Okay, you would have seen in many of these award ceremonies that is related to entertainment, that is related to movies, the award winners are given a chance to speak something, to say something about their acceptance of the award. So that is when you make a speech, a short speech, that how happy you are, or what is it that made you what is it that brought you this award? What is it that fetched you this award? What was the hard work that you put in to get this award, to make yourself receive this award? So like this, this kind of speech is called as speech of acceptance. Then comes speech of dedication. What is speech of dedication? Speech of dedication is all about dedicating something in the name of someone. You have a new block of building that has come up in your college campus. So you dedicate that in the name of someone, or you are constructing that in the name of someone. So there is a new library, or there is a new set of books that you have purchased, and you say, I purchased these books and I contribute these books in the name of Sir C.V. Raman, who is one of the greatest teacher. So like this, you can make a speech of dedication by dedicating something. It could be money, it could be a building, it could be an business establishment itself. Anything can be dedicated in the name of a person whom you want to dedicate it to. Then comes toast. Toast and roast are something very similar. And this is a very Western concept of that has been introduced to our culture. In our culture, we definitely have toast, but we do not associate toast, or we do not follow the system of raising toast every day, or for every occasion, let's say. But in Western culture, they have this concept of raising toast or roast for many occasions. It could be just a simple dinner party, which is dedicated to someone, which is called in celebration of a simple moment. The son or a daughter excelled in studies, got an A grade in something, and that calls for a toast. Any event that is dedicated to somebody's achievement, to somebody's accomplishment, a marriage ceremony, okay, a baby naming ceremony, all these things calls for a toast in different cultures, in various cultures. But in India, we do not have this toast system so much, but definitely with the global influence in the corporate scenario, this culture of raising toast is gradually increasing. And there are a lot of corporate people who go for business outings and business lunch and business meetings and all that. And that is where they raise toast or roast. What is the difference between toast or a roast? Toast is where it is usually raised for happy occasion. Roast is where sometimes it is it could be for a happy occasion, but it could also be to criticize someone in a good natured way. It's a way of telling someone something about what she or he could have done or may not have done, in a very light-hearted, a very light-mannered way. The person can be a little sarcastic in the roast, whereas toast is something that is completely for a happy occasion. Now we discuss about eulogies. Eulogies is definitely a kind of new concept to most of us, but eulogy is a very, very famous thing, or a well-known concept in many of the Western countries. In many of the Western countries, when a person is dead, when there is a funeral, there is a eulogy. There is a speech that happens by the near and dear ones. In our customs in India, it's a very sad occasion where people prefer not talking about anything, or not talking about the dead person on that day. Whereas in Western countries, it is a practice where the dead body is kept in the coffin, in a chapel, in a church, and there are members who are very near and dear ones to the dead person, who come and say a few words, say a few lines, make a short speech in fond remembrance of the person who is dead. You know, different small facts that they want to share, small experience that they want to share about the experience that they had with the dead person, when the person was alive, the remembrance of the person. This is called as a eulogy. Eulogy is also a very, very interesting speech, because you get to hear about the dead person. In today's corporate world, whenever a person is whenever there is a demise of the person, whenever there is a sad demise of the person, the people gather, and then they have a session of eulogy. Then they have this speech ceremony where they discuss about, or they give a short speech about the remembrance of the person. Okay, so that is called as a eulogy. Then comes the speech of farewell. A farewell speech is something that everybody knows. What is a farewell speech? A farewell speech, it is a goodbye speech, not saying goodbye to the world. It is a speech where you are saying goodbye to what you had so far, whatever you had till now, and to the and a way of telling that you are moving a step ahead. Usually in graduations, usually when you complete your 10th standard, or when you complete your plus two, there will be farewell ceremonies in the schools and the colleges. What does it mean? It doesn't mean that you're ending your education there. It means that you are progressing, you are stepping into a new world. So even when you graduate, you complete your years of graduation, you will be having a farewell ceremony, a farewell party, where you are going to thank your life for whatever it has given to you so far, and you are going to step ahead into your professional life. So that is a farewell ceremony, saying goodbye to whatever, to one part of life, and stepping into the next part of your life. So even in jobs, you will be there are many people who keep hopping jobs. Today you're in this company, after a few years you get into another company, you want to change your job. So then when you are moving the job, you are going to have a farewell ceremony, a speech of farewell, where you're going to thank the people who have helped you in your work so far, helped you in your professional life so far, and you are going to tell them that this is the next step you're taking in your life, and you are no more going to be a part of this organization. But definitely you have to make it a point to thank everybody who has been there with you, who has helped you so far in the journey of your professional life. Okay, now we move on to what is called as occasion speeches. There are various occasions on which you have to give different kinds of speeches, and those occasions are all related to business, all related to your profession, where you have to make some inspirational speech, goodwill speech. In business, goodwill is very, very important. Most of the business happens based on the goodwill that you have with your customers, goodwill that you establish with your employees. Okay, a lot of goodwill speeches have to happen. Inspirational speeches are also very important in business because it helps in establishing, it helps in creating a kind of inspiration in your employees to perform better at workplace. Okay, so if you are a head of an organization where you have many people working under you, you always have to see to it that your speeches, that whatever you talk is inspiring many people. It has to motivate, it has to provoke the emotions of people in such a way that they are inspired by your speech. Goodwill speeches, goodwill speeches are speeches which is speeches by people, which is usually used for persuading, which is usually used for convincing, or it also helps in creating an image about yourself. Always have to have goodwill with your customers. You need to establish a good rapport with your customers in such a way that the customers come back to you for the product that you have offered, for the service that you have given. Any kind of product, any kind of service, the customer has to come back to you, and that should be the kind of goodwill that you establish with people. Today there are hundreds and thousands of people who have joined Padma Shri Institute of Management, of Science and Management. That is because of the goodwill that the college has established with their students by word of mouth. Many people join schools and colleges by word of mouth. So that is the goodwill that a college or an establishment, business establishment has to create with their customers, with their people. So, goodwill also kind of establishes a long time relationship between people. When you're good with your people, good with your customers, the customers will want to maintain or will want to have business with you for a long time. They don't end their business in a short time. They want to continue their business for a long time. So that is called as goodwill speeches. What are public relations speeches? Public relations speeches are speeches where you are involved in creating a brand of your own, okay? Creating an image of your company, an image of your business. It's a very important kind of a speech where you are the one who is upholding the image of your company, of your business. So, like that, it improves the reputation of the company, it enhances the reputation of the organization, it enhances the reputation of the people who are in the organization. So, like this, a good public relation, PR, being a good public relation officer, or having a good public relation officer for a business is a very big thing for the company, because most of the business depends on the image that a PR creates for business, creates for the purpose of business. Then comes this justification speech. Just telling you, justification speech is where you have to make a speech to justify some action. You have done something. It might be good, it might be bad. Most of the times,
Gagan, mute yourself. Gagan. Sorry, Ganga. Sorry, Ganga. Yeah. Yeah, go on. Carry on, Nurse.
most of the times, justification is not required for the good things that we do, but only when we go wrong in our behavior, we need to justify why we did this. We should never give an opportunity for things to go wrong. But when you go wrong, and nobody can be 100% correct all the time. You might be having a bad behavior sometime with your colleague. You might be
Ganga,
having
or mute yourself. Indu, mute her now. Ganga.
Joining newly and it is becoming this thing. Once they join, they have to mute themselves.
Yeah.
If I mute every time, all of them, even madams will get muted.
Okay.
That's why I kept that participants list open only. Whoever is joining or they are becoming unmute, I'm muting them.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you,
Carry on, Archana. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So justification is required when we go wrong in our actions. So many times, sometimes we may go wrong in our behavior in the corporate world. You might have done a mistake unknowingly, and that might lead to some critical actions. Definitely, everybody gets a chance to explain why they did this, how this happened, why this mistake happened. So that kind of a speech that you give, it might be on a one-to-one basis. You might just be giving a justification to your boss, or sometimes the mistake is so big or the mistakes are so grave that it has actually hampered the entire team's image. So then you will have to give a justification as to why you had to do this, how this happened. That kind of a speech is more of a speech where you're defending yourself. You need not necessarily defend yourself. You just have to explain why you did this. Okay. And definitely, if people feel that you're wrong, if your seniors, if your employers feel that you are wrong, you might even have to seek an apology. And that is the next kind of speech that we are coming to, apology speech. You have to give an apology speech if people think that you are wrong, because sometimes the mistake, though we think that it is very simple, it might have hampered the reputation of the image. It might have incurred a lot of loss in business. And that kind of speech is called an apology speech, where you have to apologize to a group of people, to your colleagues, maybe to media. Sometimes we have seen many actors, many singers, many politicians make apologies statements, apologies speeches for the wrong things that they say in the public, for the wrong things that they do in the public. So that is called as an apology speech. Speech of commencements. Speech of commencements are where you are starting a new beginning. Commencement itself means beginning. Okay. You are starting a new beginning. You are achieving something new. You are taking up a new venture in business. You are graduating from high school and going to college. All these things are very, very important points of our life where we start something new. And those kind of speeches that are made on the occasions where you are celebrating a new start, a new beginning of something, is called as speech of commencement. In this speech, you have to introduce to people, introduce to your audience, what is the new thing that you're starting? Is it a business establishment? Are you going to a new college? Are you going to what is it? What is the new thing that is happening in your life? What is the new turn that has happened in your life that you are starting something new? So you have to give a speech of commencement whenever you're starting something new in terms of business. Okay. All right. So all this while we were talking about the different types of business speech. Now I am going to focus on how to make our speech effective. What are the principles of making our speech effective? Effective speeches do not happen overnight. You know, you cannot say tomorrow I'm going to talk something and all of a sudden, get ready for the talk. Effective speeches can happen only with good practice. No, that is the reason, that is one of the primary reason why in all the colleges we have this concept called as seminar, student presentations. I'm sure all your teachers will be forcing you people to talk something in the classroom, come and say something on the platform in the classroom. They will be forcing you to do a lot of things. And I'm sure most of you will be cursing, why should we do it? What is the necessary for us to do all these things? These are the only ways in which you can practice to be good speakers in the future. There cannot be one single person who can say that I am not going to speak anything in public in the future. We all have to say something to the public. We all have to speak to a group of audience in the future. It could be, it is not necessary in your organization alone. It could be in your classroom. It could be in your college. I know there are many introverts, many people who cannot come up on the platform and speak to a group of people. Yes, there are many introverts, but we have to train ourselves to speak well. And there is nothing called as perfection. I'm coming to that point. You know, first of all, we need to focus on speaking and not think about being a good speaker, great speaker. You know, our perception should always be on focusing what we are going to speak. Don't think that he might think something, she might think something, that person might judge me. What am I going to speak? How am I going to speak? Will people laugh at me if I speak like this? No, all those inhibitions we have to keep aside when we make a speech, because we have to focus on our speech. What are we going to speak? And don't always think about being a great speaker. You need not be a great speaker, but just focus on your speech, and automatically your speech is going to be a good one. Then perfection. I don't think there is anything called as perfection. Nobody is perfect. And don't compel yourself to be perfect. Don't force yourself to be perfect. There's nothing called as perfection. You give your 50%, you give your 80%. That is more than enough. That is more than enough for a good speech to happen. And visualize your audience. Visualize what you're going to speak. Who are your audience? What are you going to speak to them? Okay, all these things have to be visualized. Only then you can make a good speak. You can be a good speaker. You need not be a great winner, but definitely you have to visualize your goals. You know, you have to visualize your goals. You might feel anxious. Let me tell you one example. One experience that I had when I was teaching, when I was about to complete my post graduation. No, we had this subject called as English language teaching when I was in my final year of master degree. And we had to, it was a theory as well as a practical subject where we had to teach one class of students. Remember, even I was a student at that time, and I had to go to one class and teach them English. So when the teacher, it is a mandatory thing, otherwise I will not get my marks. So I have to go and teach. And I told my teacher, I'm feeling very scared to teach the students because they're almost of my age. We are of the same age. And how do I teach them? The teacher said, you don't have to worry about anything. Just go there, be prepared, stand there, and just look at their heads. Don't look at their faces, because when you see the faces, you start getting nervous because every face has an expression. I'm sure every teacher can relate to this. Every student has an expression in the classroom. One is bored, one is over enthusiastic, one is totally disoriented from what you're teaching. Every student has his own expression on the face. And when we look at those expressions, we feel very awkward. We feel, are we able to connect with the students whom we are talking to? And the teacher said, don't worry about anything. Just look at their heads and go on talking. Okay, so I don't know how I spoke for that 1 hour, But later, my teacher told me that my presentation was very good. So this is one thing that I have learned from her, that don't look at many people's faces when you're talking. Of course, after having 15 years of experience in teaching, I really need not follow the same thing. But now I know how to look into eye to eye and establish a contact with people whom I'm talking to. But this is something that we have to do in the initial days when we are doing a speech or a presentation, for not to get nervous about the people who are sitting right in front of us. So this hour, the teachers who tell you to make presentations in the classroom, that's the best way to improve your speaking abilities. Public speaking can only be done by practice. It cannot be done by just framing a speech and going and reading in the class. You cannot be a great public speaker if you do not practice. And you definitely need discipline. Discipline is one of the most important component for a good speaker, important key aspect for a good public speaker. You need to know what you are going to talk to people. You need to have a disciplined presentation, a disciplined way of presenting things, and description. Description is also important because you have to personalize your speech. You have to make it personal. You have to, first of all, connect with your audience. There should be a connection between you and the audience, and they should be able to understand what you're saying, what exactly you're trying to convey to them, and show them that you are inspiring them by talking something of their benefit. Today, whatever I'm talking to you people is all about what you have in your open elective textbook and what you're going to be writing in your exam. Of course, I will share a few things with you which is very important for you from the exam perspective as well. But for me, this topic of my presentation is not necessary that it should be only relevant to the textbook. It is also something that you have to remember throughout your life, because you are going to be making presentations, you're going to be making speeches, giving speeches in the days to come. Okay, so always talk with the purpose of benefiting the audience. There are many people who come on the stage and to talk about themselves, okay, to boast about themselves, to talk about themselves. No, that cannot be a good speech. A good speech is one which is going to inspire the audience, which is going to benefit the audience in a large manner, in a large way. Okay. And always leave the people to want to hear more. Don't make them, don't make them very bored, or don't make them feel, very sleepy, yawny. Always ask them, or always keep interacting with them in such a way that they are communicating with you, and that helps you in delivering a good speech. Okay. And then some of the things that you have to remember while drafting your speech. One is you should know your audience. Who are your audience? What is the age group of your audience? What is the gender of your audience? What is the what is the background, the social background of your audience? Let me tell you why this knowing of audience is very important. Suppose you are talking about a product, let's say a woman's perfume. You are selling women's perfume. You run a business of selling women's perfume. And there is a large group of men who are sitting and listening to you. You are not talking to the right kind of audience then. Okay. So everything, every aspect about the audience, you need to know in general about their age, about their age group of the audience, about the gender of the audience, what is the socio-economic, educational background of the audience. Are you talking in a rural platform? Are you talking to people who are less literate? Are you talking to urban class of audience, urban section of audience? All these things is something that you have to know about your audience. Then narrow your topic. Your topic should be very precise. Don't elaborate too much on your topic. Then outline your speech. You should know what you're going to talk about. There should be a basic framework of your speech. You cannot just talk randomly about many things in your speech. You have to restrict. If I'm given a 2 hours of time frame, I should know what are the things I should cover in the given time frame. Okay, so that can happen only by outlining your speech, preparing the outline. Then get the attention of the room. As soon as you enter a room for your presentation or for your speech, you are supposed to grab the attention of the people there by making your speech conversational, by making it very personalized. You have to interact with them, you have to talk to them, you have to be very chatty in your speech, in the speech that you make. Don't just read the speech from the piece of paper that you carry to the podium. You have to make it conversational. Organize your speech. Think about what you're going to talk, what you're going to talk next. How are you going to present this topic? What examples are you going to offer? What statistics are you going to offer? Be prepared, be well prepared with the statistics, with the quotations, with everything that you want to present in your speech. Don't be a clumsy speaker. A clumsy speaker is the one who is not well prepared for a speech. You have to be well prepared to present your business speech in a large gathering. And that is where business speech demands a lot of collection of data, lot of collection of statistics, lot of examples, lot of other things that is required for business speeches. You have to be well prepared for all these things. And as important as the beginning of a speech, so much important is the conclusion of the speech, because in the conclusion of the speech, you are making a very, very powerful point. You are concluding your speech with a very powerful point. So therefore, craft your speech in such a way that your conclusion should be as good and as powerful as the introduction was. And then you can also use a lot of presentation aids, speaking aids. If you're making a presentation while you're speaking, you can use a lot of aids for the purpose of your presentation. Probably when you want to show some statistics, you can use graphical representation. You can choose to use a chart. You can choose to use a pie diagram, a pie, a bar graph. Many of these presentation aids will be very, very useful for the purpose of making your speech more effective. Write for the ear and not for the eye, which means your presentation has to have an effect on the ear. Many people may not look into your speech, but they will definitely listen to your speech. You have to write for them, and what you write should be sounding good and sounding very appropriate. It should be appropriate. It should be a very, the words that you use should be very appropriate. The kind of speech, the kind of language that you use should be very appropriate. And the best way to craft effective or appropriate speeches is by reading, reading, and rereading your own text. You prepare a speech. You don't need another person to tell you that this is wrong. Here, there is a mistake. We read it ourselves. If you're sounding natural, always use simple language in your speech. Make it, everybody need not be as good as Shashi Tharoor in vocabulary. We don't have that kind of vocabulary. Try to make the vocabulary very simple, very effective, very powerful also. If I say simple, it should also be powerful. You have to have powerful language to convince your business people, to convince the audience whom you're talking to. So this is something that is very important. And how can you establish an how can you prepare an effective speech, or how to make your speech more effective, is by reading and rereading the text, the speech that you have prepared. When you hear your own speech, you can make out what is right and what is not right. Lastly, the last tip for for an effective speech is timing yourself. You should know what is the time that is given to you and how to complete your speech within the given time. You know, you have to complete the speech. Some people have the habit of going on for hours and hours together and making the audience very boring. It's not easy. You know, as a teacher, also many times we feel the kind of effect that we have on the students, where it becomes very difficult for people to sit and listen for long hours. So timing is very important. How well and how neatly, how well prepared you are, time management, it is all indicated by how you close and the time that you close. Do you complete your presentation? Do you complete your speech within the given time and give little space for people to think after you have presented something? That's also very important. So these are some guidelines for you to prepare a good speech. Then comes business presentations. So all this while we have spoken about business speeches. Now we are going to talk about business presentations. Business presentations are those presentations which is made to give some information formally to the people, to the people. And this could be about a business product, this could be about a process, this could be about a policy. And presentations are usually made with the help of audio and video. There is audio and video aids that can be used for the purpose of presentation. So what are the purposes of business presentations? The four basic purposes of business presentations are information, persuasion, motivation, and celebration. So these are the four basic purposes. Information, we know very well, to inform about something, to inform about a product, to inform about a policy. Persuasion, again, it means to convince about a product, to convince about a policy. Motivation, what is motivation? To inspire people, to motivate people to do something. Celebration, celebration is where you are going to present something to celebrate some occasion, to celebrate of a new launch of a new product, launch of a new car that Maruti Suzuki is coming up with. So all these things are the various purposes of business presentations. Now, I have some tips for effective presentation. What are the tips that you see here for effective presentation? It could be a little repetitive because making an effective speech and making an effective presentation needs the same kind of preparation. Okay. And what are those? What is the same kind of preparation that you need? As I told you, you need to know your audience. Who is your audience? What is the age group of your audience? Who are the people who are going to be there? What is the group? What is the size of the group that is going to be there for the presentation? All these things you need to know to make your presentation effective. Then is organizing your presentation. Make your presentation in a very organized way. Know well in advance what you're going to talk about. What are the things that you're going to discuss? What are the examples that you're going to give? All these things should be well organized mentally in order to make a good presentation, in order to make an effective presentation. Then comes making use of the time, making use of the time frame that has been given to you. And as much as the time that is given to you, try to make the best use of the time that has been given to you. How do you make use of the time that is given? As much as possible, try to collect good amount of data. Okay, good amount of data which is very clear, which is very concise, and you should know the target audience very well, whom you're targeting, who are the kind of your audience. If you know all these things well, and then you can prepare an effective presentation. You might choose to use PPTs, you might choose to use visual aids, all that is left to you. But you should know how to interact with people and how to make the best presentation in the given time, in the time that has been given to you. The best utilization of time and resource is what is very important in in giving a good presentation. Then next thing is, this picture here is all about how do you set your mind for a presentation. You're going to talk about, uh, you are going to talk to a group of people who might not be of the same mindset as you are, but you have to prepare your mind in such a way that you are going to deliver something productive to your people, to the ones who are listening to you. For that, you need to practice, you need to train your mind in such a way, you establish a mindset which is going to which is going to empower you to deliver a very powerful presentation and reach the audience that you have targeted. You all have a target audience in your mind. Who is your audience? Is it your students? Is it your teacher? Is it people from business, from your business? Is it the prospective business customer? Who is your audience is something that you need to know very well. And based on that, you're going to set your mind based on the purpose of your presentation. If you are going there to convince someone, to persuade someone to enter into a business relationship with you, how are you going to present? You have to make up your mind, motivate them to enter into business with you by making your presentation very, very effective. And how can effective presentation happen? By collecting a lot of data, by being very concrete in talking, by giving substantial evidence of whatever you're saying. Okay, only then you can establish a good business with people. Then last thing is, prepare yourself for a question and answer session with the audience. You are expected, or you will have to, as a presenter, as a speaker, definitely there'll be some questions put forth to you. So you have to be prepared for whatever could be the probable questions that might be asked in a presentation. This happens only when you can anticipate. You have to anticipate what are the questions that will be asked. What kind of questions the audience might ask me based on my presentation, where there is a lack of clarity. Where do I have to explain a little more to my audience, to my students? Based on that, you have to be prepared for the question that you will have to answer to your audience. Am I clear so far? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Clear and very, very informative.
Okay, so I have just listed down a few principles of effective presentation here. I have listed some 9 principles, which could also again be a little repetitive from what I have already spoken as principles of effective speech. Speech is not necessarily a speech that you read out from a piece of paper. Speech can also be a relaxed conversation. Likewise, a presentation can also be a relaxed conversation with the people to whom you are presenting. The audience can always have a conversation with the person who is presenting, and try to be yourself in a presentation. Don't try to put on a kind of a kind of mask which you are not. Try to be very natural. Try to be yourself. Don't try to prove that you are the best. You are doing something very effectively. Be natural, be yourself as much as possible, and that will have a great impact on the listeners, on your audience. Relaxed conversations are always two-way. It's not necessary that one person keeps speaking in a presentation. It can always be two-way communication. The audience also speak whenever they have to speak something, whenever they have anything relevant to say, whenever they have queries to ask, they can also speak, and the presenter can also speak. Relaxed conversation is receiver driven. Yes, it's very receiver driven. It is all focused on the receiver. How the receiver perceives your presentation is the focus of any presentation. You should always keep in mind, you should always practice your presentation in such a way, or you should always practice your presentation to a group of audience, a familiar group of audience, so that they can identify where you are wrong. What is it that is lacking in your presentation, or what is it that you're talking too much in your presentation? Is the motive of your presentation fulfilled or not fulfilled? So these are some things that is called as receiver driven presentations, conversation which automatically comes from the side of the receiver also, whenever the receiver is able to establish that kind of a relationship with the speaker. Okay, the audience is able to establish, when there is a connect that happens, automatically there'll be a lot of interaction that happens. Okay, so that is called as receiver driven conversation. Less is more. This is something that I really want to talk about. What is less is more? What is the meaning of this two contrary words? Less is more, which means, you should know how much you should be telling your audience. You should know how much less you tell your audience, and that itself is too much. You should tell your audience little less so that you have ample time to interact with them later. You need sufficient time to interact with them. People can listen, or they can also think. You know, um, when you talk less, all these things are interrelated. When I say less is more, you talk less, you give them a lot of space to think. They can think. They can either listen to you, or they can think about what they have just listened. Okay, so that gives them ample time to think and interact with you. People won't remember what you say. Okay, many people will not remember what you say. But when you have a presentation to make, you present something with audio visual effect or audio visual aids, they will remember a large part of what you have said. And think before you speak. Yes, it is necessary for everybody to make notes, make a kind of rehearsal of what you are going to speak. A good speaker can never speak impromptu. Okay, it can never happen. Nobody is born speakers. It can never happen like that. You need preparation. Even the greatest athlete who is going to run in the Olympics tomorrow would have prepared and would have practiced for years together before running on the day of the event. So like this, even a good speaker has to prepare a lot well in advance about what you are going to speak in the presentation. Think everything, make notes of everything. Making notes, a very important habit, which I always scold my students. They do not make notes. They fail to make notes in the classroom. But believe me, making notes in the classroom, making notes before you present something to your audience is going to be very handy in a presentation. Then silence is essential. As a speaker, I am a presenter. I don't have to continuously talk for the time frame that has been given to me. I give my people, I give my audience a little space to think. Therefore, me as a presenter, as a speaker, being silent is also very important. That gives the audience the space to think, the time to think. Has she said something right or wrong? Is this correct or not? Is the fact correct? or not. It gives them the time to verify things mentally. It gives the time for them to think and ask questions. So therefore, even the silence of the speaker is very important in a presentation. Now, coming to the audio visual aids that can be used in a presentation or while making speech. Here, I have shared with you a few types of audio visuals that can be used. Here you can see, the chart, the bar graph, and other kinds of graphs that have been used. Here you can see the cassettes. Then you can see some diagrams which will be helpful in explaining many things to students. Here you see different types of diagrams. Here you see the map. Map is also an example of audiovisual aid. You see floppy disks. You see CDs. Here you see a cartoon. Okay, a cartoon also has so much of message to convey to the audience. Here you see a picture. If I'm explaining something about the Taj Mahal, why not I have a picture of Taj Mahal so that people who have not or who have not seen the picture will be able to actually visualize what it looks like, how it looks. So different types of aids can be used in order to make your presentation interesting, make your presentation effective. And also remember, the word itself tells you the phrase audio visual aids. Aid, the word aid is nothing but help. It is something, it is one aspect that is going to be helpful in your presentation, but this itself, the audiovisual aids itself should not become the presentation. There should be a lot of talking, a lot of conversation, a lot of interaction happening. These things, the audiovisual aid will only come handy in making your presentation effective. And these are just pointers for you to make your presentation. This itself should not speak. Your words should speak more. You should use more of verbal communication rather than non-verbal communication like charts and diagrams and all these things. These are just aids, which means it should be helpful. That's all. Aid means help. So it should just be helpful for you to make your presentation interesting and effective. Then, creating an effective PowerPoint presentation. Today everybody is creating a PowerPoint presentation. How do you make your PowerPoint presentation interesting? How do you make it effective? Remember, don't put too many things in your PowerPoint presentation. It should be some of them, they have the habit of copying and pasting directly many things from Google, Wikipedia in the presentation. Nobody has the time to read so many things in a PowerPoint presentation. There should just be pointers indicators telling or discussing about the topic. Cut out the wordiness, which means don't use too much of words. Add pictures. Add pictures to make your PowerPoint effective. You have to add pictures. You have to there should be something for people to see visually, to visualize something that you're talking about. Use appropriate animation. Don't use all those cartoons and too much of animations to make your PowerPoint presentation. It looks very childish, especially in business presentations. You are not supposed to use too much of animation. And when you have numbers to use, when you're presenting statistics, data of something, you cannot just use numbers, because remembering numbers is going to be very difficult. You cannot remember numbers easily. So always present your statistical data in form of graphs, in form of other methods where it is going to be interesting and it is going to be effective to make this communication very appropriate. Use large fonts. Try to use large fonts in your presentation and maintain consistency. There should be consistency. Even in your PowerPoint presentation, there has to be some consistency where you're going to use the similar kind of slides. Don't use too much of colorful slides and all that. and limit your bullet points. Don't use too many bullet points, and try to tell story in your presentation as much as possible. Be flexible. Be flexible as in make your conversation very effective, or make it very conversational. Make the presentation itself very conversational. Okay. So with this, I think I have reached to the close of this presentation. I hope the information or something that I shared with you people today was helpful in understanding, this text better, and helpful not just to write your exam. I feel that this should be useful for you to useful for you people in your profession as well, while you're preparing your presentation or while you're preparing your speech. These are the points, these are the guidelines that you have to remember to make your speech effective. Now, I think we can have a question answer session. And if you have any questions, you can ask.
Ma'am, does our presentation style change according to the age group of the audience? And if it's yes, what should we do for a mixed age group audience?
A presentation time does not change according to the age group. If it is a mixed group of audience, you can have, there is no matter. I mean, time frame should not matter for a mixed group of audience, I feel.
I think the examples we use varied and
Any more questions?
Madam,
Yes, sir.
Madam, this is Shankar Murthy, ma'am. Ma'am, your presentation was excellent, and clarity of sound is superb. Madam,
Thank you, sir.
see, when a video, audio, video, record which you have to demonstrate how to do the presentation and all.
Sir, I did not understand the question, sir.
Madam, see, this is what everyone we are accepting your presentation, and it is a great thing you have done it.
Yes, sir.
Any models you have for like video presentation, something like that?
Yes, sir, I do have.
Please play one, madam, if you have.
You mean to say in a
how
presentation?
to conduct it's a conference, or how to celebrate the ceremonies, or any other one occasions.
Sir, I have not included that in this presentation. If you want, I will include that and share it with you, sir.
Yeah, please, madam, please.
Yes,
That
sir.
would be more effective, madam, because
Yes,
see,
sir.
suppose student, if you watch the videos, they will have more effective. These are all the theory part which have been incorporated in the actual presentations in the video.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions? Okay. Let me conclude. Archana, is there anything to say?
No, sir.
Yeah.
That's it from my end.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Archana. I extend my gratitude to our resource person, Professor Archana from St. Francis de Sales College, Electronic City, Bangalore, for her time and valuable inputs. Thank you for your informative talk, Professor Archana. On behalf of Padma Shri Institute of Management Sciences and the principal, and on behalf of all the participants, I extend my gratitude to you for your wonderful session. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
A special thanks to Dr. Anuradha Madam, Principal of Padma Shri Institute of Management Sciences, for providing immense support to make this workshop very successful. Thank you, ma'am.
sir, there is a feedback in the chat box. Please kindly all of you give your feedback.
Yeah, kindly fill the feedback form which has been posted in the chat box. Kindly fill your feedback so that you will get the certificate. I extend my thanks to Dr. Indu, technical support team, to organize this workshop. I must thank all the participants for their active participation. without your participation, so it wouldn't have been possible. Thank you all once again.
Thank you, sir.
So I request all of you to attend the evening session by 5:30. The session would be more interesting and it would be delivered by Professor Chetana, Associate Professor of Maharani Cluster University. She has put up with so much of experience. Definitely it would be very useful. I request all of you to attend the evening session at sharp 5:30. Thank you one and all. Good day.
A good day, sir. Thank you. I'll be ending the session.
Yeah.
Please, all of you give your
Please,
feedback.
all of you fill the feedback form. Please, all of you fill the feedback form. Yesterday, somebody was asking after the meeting. It's been given there. You just click on the form. It will direct you to the Google. It has been posted there. We wait for a second. So please look at that. Click on that particular link. It will lead you to the a particular form that you can fill and submit. Clear? Go to the chart box. There is a link. You just click on that link. It will take you to the form. You fill that form and submit, and you will be getting the certificate after the workshop. I mean to say after Monday. Thank you once again.